able to tell you yes, but
Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, February 16th, and this is the Moscow City Council meeting. If you would all please rise with me, I'll lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as we get started in the meeting here, we do have an amended agenda. Item 6 on our agenda was pulled today, Harvest Hills First Edition Preliminary Plat. We will hear that at a later time, but that was at the request of the applicant of that plan. So, with that, I would go on to item number 1, which is the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion by Dan and a second by Jim to approve the consent agenda as is, and I will start the roll with Walter.
aye.
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 Okay, and we'll move on to the next portion of business, which is our public comment and mayor's response period. We allow 15 minutes every council meeting for folks to get up and speak in front of us, and this is as long as it is not on council agenda tonight or something that is in front of the planning and zoning or the Board of Adjustments. Please state your name, your address, and we'll let you speak.
My name is Tim Gressback, and I reside at 614 South Adams Street with my family, and my business is at 210 East 7th Street. And Mr. Mayor and council and friends, I just wanted to briefly update you on our community nonprofit ice rink and what's been going on with the ice rink. We just finished our gala, cleared almost 40,000 after the dust cleared. I think it was 37,000 and change profit. Very generous community with our gala, and we appreciate everybody who came out for that. Last weekend we had the tournament. We had kids coming from all over the Pacific Northwest. There were six teams in for our Mike tournament. These are kids from 4 to 8 years old. The rink was just teeming with children and families, and the hotels were pretty full. The restaurants were pretty full. The economic impact of that rink is just, it's something that keeps giving. But you have to remember about our community rink, it's not just hockey. We have a curling league, and if you come in the afternoon sometime or late morning, there can be 70 kids out there just skating. The different homeschool programs, they discharge their recreational component in the wintertime at our rink. So the rink's getting used all the time, but it's not just hockey. There's broom balls, there's birthday parties, sometimes rented privately. But in terms of hockey, the high school team won the Wenatchee Cup. The Apple Cup in Wenatchee, and these kids, you know, they're from our community, but it's not like they learned to play hockey somewhere else and moved here from Canada or Minnesota or something. These are kids that learned to skate back at that mite level and now are having successes at the high school level. Unfortunately, because our rink is only 3/4 size, it isn't regulation size, once they get past about age 12, we can't hold tournaments for the older kids. So the high school team, we have to travel to Cheney. We'll be traveling up to Cheney at Eastern Washington University. That's where our home games are. And so the Bear Boosters are buying a bus for us to bring fans up this week for those very successful high school team. But that's one of the reasons why we're just so passionate to try to get a full-size sheet of ice built. We've bought some the ice boards for the new rink. They're called dasher boards. We've purchased them. We have our architect reworking the plans to try to keep costs down, the capital outlay for that rink. Just wanted you to know the kids continue to come through the door. It's the busiest community recreation center on the Palouse, and we're looking forward to getting that full-size rink built. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim. And it's always kind of fun to that ice skater rink event that goes on every single year, and there's a lot of enthusiasm in our entire community with that, the whole Palouse. So thank you, Tim. Others who would like to come up?
Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Karstetter. I am from ASUI, and this is my second time reporting to you guys. So I just have a few updates for you. So I don't know if you guys knew, but ASUI has actually written a bill for the state legislature this year, and it just got its bill number. It's sponsored by Representative Carolyn Troy and Kelly Packer. It's starting at the House and Judiciary Rules Committee, and we actually got Senator Lodge, who sits as chairwoman of the committee, to also sponsor it. So we're feeling pretty good about it. It's on medical amnesty. I don't know if you guys all know a lot about that, but it's if you're under the age of 21 and you call enforcement officer for help, right now we have it as if you would get in trouble, and so that would do away with that. I think Washington and Oregon and maybe Montana have it. So we're trying to get that through, and other than that, we just been working hard over in ASUI. So yeah, that's really all I got.
Very
I
good.
reside on campus.
Thank you, Austin.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, others like to speak before us? Okay, we will move on to item number 3, which is a Citizen Commission report on fair and affordable housing. Becky Couch has this. Becky, how are you this evening?
Good, thank you. Good evening, commission members, or council members. I'm here to introduce to you the chair of the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, Randy Bocall, and he's ready and excited to speak to you about the commission's activities this past year and things that will be coming up in the coming year. So thank you.
Welcome, Randy.
Yes, hi, thank you very much. So the last couple of years have been pretty busy with the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. We have a relatively small panel here right now. Myself as chair, Jamal is our vice chair, Jill Maxwell is secretary, Jeff Dodge and Stetson Holman. Stetson is from the ASUI, by the way. He's our representative from campus. And then Art Betke is our council liaison, and Rebecca Couch, Becky, is our staff liaison. But that means that we have 4 vacancies on our commission here at this point. Just in the last 6 months, 3 of our people, somebody had to move away to another town, and some other things happened. So we're kind of short-staffed there a little bit. Also, Stetson Holman, who is our representative from the ASUI, is graduating this spring. So he will be moving on and vacating his seat as well. So we're going to be a little bit shorthanded, and we're looking for additional members, and we're going to ask the council to please help us find additional members. The last particular year, we just had to wanted to review the accomplishments that we've done for this year. We started a series of workshops up on campus targeted towards the students as they're moving off campus and starting to encounter the real world out there, entering into leases and contracts is probably the first legal document that they'll ever sign in their lives. So we're holding workshops that are co-sponsored by the ASUI, and we have a panel discussion type of a thing where we include a property manager or a landlord. We have a couple members from the legal aid clinic, and then ourselves do a short presentation and then open everything up to the students. Good conversation, great questions that come from the students. It's really been fun. We're going to be continuing this series of workshops this coming year and next year as well. The next one, let's see, I think this skipped ahead a little bit. Our next workshop is going to be on March 1st. That one goes with a different slide, I believe. We are going to be having a fair housing info session. Well, that one goes with a different slide, too. I'm sorry. But here we are. The fair housing training in conjunction with the Intermountain Fair Housing Council. This one is coming up in April. April is also the Fair Housing Month, so we're holding this in conjunction with that to particularly bring focus to fair and affordable housing. But the speakers that we had last year were Sarah Fisher, Zoanne Olson, Ken Nagy, and Eric Stevenson. And their topics were fair housing basics, of course, but service animals and reasonable accommodations, fair housing compliance from the perspective of a housing attorney. And we had great turnout. There was about 50 people that attended. They were made up of realtors, property managers, housing providers. There were some attorneys. I don't know if anybody from the general public actually attended, although the public was invited. And good conversation. Some very, very interested stakeholders in this, the property managers and the landlords, really want to embrace this and make sure that they're providing housing that meets all of the codes and all of the standards. And there's a lot for them to learn, just a lot of information for them to embrace. So this last year, we also completed and updated the analysis of impediments to fair housing. Out of that, we identified 6 action items. And those 6 action items are going to comprise the largest share of our work over the next 3 years. We have some other goals that we are wrapping along inside of that. And we are going to be continuing our regular workshops. We'll continue the fair housing training with the Intermountain Fair Housing Council. I think I mentioned the next workshop is going to be on March 1st at 6 o'clock up on campus, and we invite any of the council members to participate. The fair housing training is going to be the 3rd week of April. That'll be a daytime event at the 1912 Center, and you're all welcome and encouraged to come. And then promoting the April National Fair Housing Month activities with some press releases and little bits and pieces that go out to the general public. We also need to update and keep current some little handouts that we've designed. We have 2 neat little handouts, one for the tenant side of things, one for the landlord side of things. Both of them focus on both rights and responsibilities, because both sides of the contract do have responsibilities as well as rights. And then, of course, we have a pretty extensive website on the city's website that has numerous links out to a lot of different kinds of resources for anybody that's looking at property contracts or leasing contracts, as well as affordable housing and purchasing of housing. So those are the areas that we've come from, the areas that we're going towards, and our need for finding interested parties to participate in our commission. So I would throw it out. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Randy, one of the things, we do have one person in the shoots that are coming up that I plan on proposing to the council for the commission.
Great.
And so we're diligently working on getting some more folks for you, because you guys, your commission has kind of been hit this last 6 months or so. So,
Yes.
Catherine.
I also spoke to somebody too, and then is it okay if I give them your name?
Please do.
Because I knew that we had the 4 vacancies, and so I was thinking it was important to get that one filled.
Send them my way. I'd be happy to meet with them.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Other questions for Randy? John?
I just have a comment. I'm on the Affordable Housing Chodo, and anything that you do that shines a little light on affordable housing. We don't deal much with fair housing, but we do deal with affordable housing, is very welcome from our point of view, because it lets the public know that we are around, and we can help people get into affordable housing. We've got one piece of property that is in the process of closing. We've got another piece of property that we're going to be building an affordable house on here shortly. And the work that you people do is much appreciated.
Great. Thank you for your comments, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 4. This is a public hearing, a proposal for annexation, comprehensive plan use designation, and rezoning of property located at 3151 and 3225 Robinson Park Road. Michael Ray, you have got the podium, Mike.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. Pulling it up here. So before you tonight, we have a request from Terry and Mary Shireman for annexation of property, as well as a comprehensive plan, land use designation, and a rezoning of some property located adjacent to the city limits boundary. So before you tonight, we really have 3 requests. The first one being the annexation of the 3.34 acres, and that's located at 3151 and 3225 Robinson Park Road. We also have the adoption, so outside of the city limits boundary, we have within the area of city impact comprehensive plan land use designations for all that area out there, and so upon annexation we'll need to adopt that, and so that's why we have the adoption of the current comprehensive plan land use designation, and which is currently auto urban residential and suburban commercial for the smaller piece. And we also have a rezone request. The property is currently zoned agricultural forestry, and the request is to a combination of our low-density single-family residential, which is the R1 zoning district, and the neighborhood business zone. So just to orient yourself to the property, orange line represents the current city limits boundary. Subject properties outlined in red in the center of your screen. Actually have 2 parcels here, one of 2.34 acres in size and then a smaller one of 1 acre in size. The 2.34 acre property to the west currently has a single-family dwelling and a couple of outbuildings on it. Single-family dwelling located here and the outbuildings here and there. And then the 1 acre piece there to the northeast currently contains the Shireman Clubhouse and Event Center space in the northeast portion. So looking at the vicinity, we have some platted property there to the south. That's Southgate 3rd Edition subdivision. And we also have other existing residential development to the west, to the northwest. Within the county, you have primarily agricultural land as well as just large lot single-family development. We've got a topography map showing the property. Relatively flat, slopes down a little bit from the street, but relatively flat. The portions there to the north increase topography as you head to the north there. Looking at the current comprehensive plan land use designation, we have auto urban residential as well as suburban commercial. Suburban commercial is in the pink, and that auto urban residential is in the yellow shade. All of the property within the city is currently designated as neighborhood conservation. So what that auto urban residential designation equates to, according to the comprehensive plan, are those areas generally anticipated to be developed with low to moderate density residential. We usually see densities of about 3 to 7 units per acre. And then appropriate zoning districts would be R1, R2, and R3 for those properties. Looking at the suburban commercial designation, it's intended to provide local and neighborhood commercial services, provided in a manner that's compatible with the residential neighborhood environment. Appropriate lands for that designation include those areas in close proximity to higher density residential development, intersections of designated collector arterial streets. Robinson Park Road's currently designated as a minor arterial near residential development. And the most appropriate zoning designation is our neighborhood business zone. So looking at a zoning map of the area, currently within the agricultural forestry zone as well as all the area to the east within the county. Within the city limits, you have a combination of R1 to the south. You also have some R2, some R3, a slight sliver of ag forest. There it contains a single property adjacent to Robinson Park Road. You have R2 to the northwest. So the proposal, on behalf of the applicants, is to rezone, annex and rezone the larger piece, the 2.34 acres, to the R1 designation, and then the current Shireman Event Center that's located on the 1-acre piece to the neighborhood business zone. The R1 zone says in the zoning code is a low-density residential zone, and then it's appropriate in the following circumstances where single-family dwellings predominate. The area, physical character of the area does not lend it to a more intense development, and so that could be by virtue of irregular topography, restricted access. It could be division of land into subdivision lots greater than the minimum lot size for the zone. And then application of the plan policies, the plan being the comprehensive plan to the land in question. Looking at our neighborhood business zone, it's going to be the lowest intensity commercial zone in our code. It's intended to be applied in areas less than 2 acres in size. So it needs to be provided in a convenient location for adjacent residential neighborhoods other than the community as a whole. And then the commercial services underneath that zone that are permitted. We're going to be a wide variety of residential, retail, sales, personal services, restaurants, professional offices, daycare facilities, churches, and a community neighborhood event center, which is currently encompassing the property. I just wanted to highlight the utilities that extend to the area. So you have both sewers, sanitary and storm, extended out to the current city limits boundary, and you also have a water line, a water main that's extended out to the current city limits boundary as well. So the property does have access to city services. Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing, and that occurred January 13th, 2016, and they recommended approval of the comp plan designation and the rezone without any conditions. And so staff's recommendation for the council tonight is to conduct a public hearing upon the annexation, land use, and zoning designations, and upon consideration of any testimony presented. First one is going to be approve the annexation ordinance under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary. The second, to approve the comp plan resolution and adopt Planning and Zoning Commission's reason statement. And then the third being to approve the proposed zoning ordinance under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary. And then to adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission's reason statement of relevant criteria. I'd certainly be able to answer any questions that you might have about the proposal.
As Mike had said, what we've got here is we've got one public hearing, but we've got basically 3 major decisions which will be voted on each one separately. So, Dan, I will start with you.
Mike, could you put the map back up that showed I think it showed the zoning right there? Okay, so my pointer's battery is dead. So the R1 just to the south, is that the Milton Arthur Park?
It would be, yeah. That's the current park there.
And then I wanted to confirm that this means the city is going to also be annexing that section of road.
Correct.
Okay, I have people that would be pleased with that, so.
John?
Yeah. The ag forest directly to the east, that's the University Farm. Is that not correct?
To the southeast. I believe to the east it's Lloyd Scramsted's estate.
I think that little section is.
The lower part is the University Farms,
Correct.
and then the upper part is,
I believe that's Lloyd Scramsted's estate that he leases for farming.
all right.
Catherine?
Mine's just a question on verbiage, because in the code it says, it doesn't say event center, but is that beginning to for the uses? Is that now becoming synonymous with restaurant? And like you said, go back to the slide. See in the 5th bullet? No, sorry, the 4th bullet. I just want to make sure, and then we're saying like community neighborhood centers, so we're implying that event center means the same thing now?
It does. Yeah, they received a conditional use permit for a neighborhood, community neighborhood center, and so, yeah, they're synonymous with each other.
Yeah, I just didn't know then if eventually we have to change that definition too.
No.
Okay. Isn't event center just like, that's their title of the
Correct.
Yeah.
operation, not necessarily a definition, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, does the proposed annex property follow existing property ownership lines?
I don't think it does, except for the road. Does the existing boundary for the city limits?
The proposed annexation area, does that follow existing property ownership lines?
On the east, it does. It'll go across the Robinson Park Road, and then it follows the northern right-of-way line of Robinson Park Road. So, it does.
Okay, but it doesn't have to, does it? I mean, we can annex part of somebody's 40 acres and not take in the whole thing.
Sure.
Okay, but in this case, it does follow
It does.
property
Yep.
lines. Okay,
Yep.
and if I may,
Go ahead.
they're proposing to get on city water, but to stay on septic systems on the property.
Correct.
Do we have any problem with that?
We don't. I mean, they're greater than 300 feet away from the current sewer line, so they're not required to connect to those services, even when they are in the city. But they're planning on running private water lines from the city main to both properties.
If I may?
Go ahead, continue.
I thought I heard you say that the city water, and somebody's been going through all of our
Pointer, don't we?
pointer things. The city water, sewer, and storm sewer all end at the Hayden's driveway up in Robinson Park Road.
Yeah, it'd be in
Right
this
there?
this location right here.
So it's not 300 feet to the property. It may be 300 feet to use.
Yeah, it's greater than 300 feet to the house.
Okay,
Yep.
so for that reason, that's okay.
Yep.
And then, I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions for Mike? John?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, we haven't.
Oh, I'm
we got-
sorry, you're on.
Hearing first. John, we got to open it up for public hearing,
Yeah,
and then we'll go from there. Okay, thank you, Mike. I am going to open this public hearing. It is 7:27, and I will take testimony in favor
Got anybody that's going to say it?
of this proposal. Do we have anybody here that'd like to come up and speak? Come on up, state your name, address, sir. If you are, in fact, the folks that own this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Terry Shireman, 3151 Robinson Park Road.
Okay.
And I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Okay.
Any questions or?
Well, I don't think we have any questions. We just always ask for folks that are, in favor of this, and this is your property. Now what we're going to do is move on and see if there's anybody opposed to it or anybody's got general comments. So, thank you very much. Now I will take testimony for anybody that would like to come in front of us and speak on this, either in favor or general comments or opposition. With seeing none, boom, I'll close the public hearing at 7:28. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I would move that we approve the annexation ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary.
Second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion by John and a second by Jim to approve the annex ordination and the suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and it be read, entitled, and published by summary. I'll start the roll with you, Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll move on. That's number 1. I would need to read an ordinance on that. 2016-02, is that correct? Okay. Ordinance 2016-02, an ordinance of the City of Moscow Municipal Corporation of the State of Idaho, providing that the land described in Section 1 of this ordinance and generally shown on Exhibit A, attached thereto and incorporated by this reference by annexed to the City of Moscow, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, providing that this ordinance be in full force and effect from the day that and after passage, approval, and publication according to law. Okay, that's number 1.
Your Honor,
Dan?
I make a motion that we approve the proposed comprehensive plan land use designation resolution and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reason statement of relevant criteria.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Dan and a second by John to approve the proposed comprehensive plan land use designation resolution and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission's reasoned statement of relevant criteria. I'll start the roll, John.
Aye.
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 Okay, now we will move on to item number 3.
I move that we approve the proposed zoning ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary, and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reasoned statement of relevant criteria.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Catherine and a second by Walter to approve the proposed zoning ordinance under the suspension of rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and it be read by title and published by summary, and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reasoned statement relevant criteria. We said, we'll start with Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, we will move on. We got another ordinance somewhere here to read. And this one will be 03, 2016-03. An ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of Idaho, providing for the zoning of approximately 3.34 acres of property described in Section 1 of this ordinance, low density, single-family residence, R1, and neighborhood business, NB, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Boom, so we will move on. We have it, folks. Thank you very much. Mike?
Yay.
We will move on to item number 5, which is Harvest Hills Rezone Comprehensive Plan, reason statement, relevant criteria, and standards. Michael, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. So as you recall, at last council meeting, the council approved the proposed comp plan and rezone for Harvest Hills Edition, and then directed staff to prepare the appropriate reason statement of relevant criteria and standards. And so staff's drafted that tonight. It should be attached to your packet, and I could certainly answer any questions that you have on that.
Discussion from council? Mike?
I guess I just have one question.
Okay, Dan.
This doesn't affect any, I mean, this we're adopting is fine. Nothing has to change here with whatever changes the property owner might be making. You know, as we pulled the item 6, nothing of that is going to affect what we're adopting here.
No, sir.
That being the case, I'd make a motion that we approve the reason statement of relevant criteria and standards for Harvest Hills First Edition rezone and comprehensive land use amendment.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion with anybody before I move forward with this? We got a motion by Dan and a second by John to approve the reasoned statement of relevant criteria and standards for Harvest Hills First Additional Rezone and Comprehensive Planned Use Amendment. John, I'll start with you.
Aye.
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 And aye.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we cruised right along, folks. This is kind of interesting, 7:33, and we're towards the end of our, so we're going to go into reports. I'll start with Jim.
I haven't had any commission meetings to attend, although I did help the Clearwater Resource Conservation and Development Council move their office from the county building on Almond Street over to the silos by providing them with lunch when they did that. So that's all I have to report.
Okay. Dan?
Arts Commission is the only commission I had since the last meeting. And one of the big things that we're going to be seeing is next December, we're going to be getting an exhibit from the Smithsonian here talking about water in the area on the Palouse and just, you know, water globally, but they'll have a lot of it tying to what's going on here. So the big thing is, I mean, this is from the flipping Smithsonian. So I mean, that's huge. So that's something that everybody was looking forward to, and they wanted to make sure that, you know, we knew about it early. You know, we got a year to get ready for it. So it's going to be here in the 3rd Street Gallery. So it'll be kind of fun to see all that in City Hall. And that's all I got.
Yeah. John?
Moscow Tree Commission met on February 2nd, and the Tree City and Growth Awards have been submitted, but we have not heard anything as to whether we are still going to be a Tree City, although I think we probably will be. And the fruit tree pruning workshop is moving along. They are working on having some more information on that on 2/2016, and I think that would be, if you've got any fruit trees, it'd be very good. If you don't know how to prune them or haven't done it before, it really helps. And then the discussion for the types of trees for the 2016 and 2017 has started, and all of the members of the Tree Commission have got lots of ideas. So I think that when it's all said and done, we're going to come up with some pretty good choices, and they are still picking a spot for the planning for the 2/16 Arbor Day. That will come up. And then the Moscow Human Rights Commission met at 4 o'clock today, and there are 2 or 3 items here that are worthy of note. A refugee support letter has been sent to the mayor, and it will then, after the mayor's read it, it will come to the council as to whether or not we are going to send it. And then the Social Justice Forum, having to do with faith and human rights, is moving along, but some of the churches have yet to respond, so that's a little bit on hold. And then the Social Justice Forum, having to do with gender shaming, is moving along. The Women's Center at the university would like to be involved in any way possible, and I'm quite sure that the Human Rights Commission will put their volunteering to good use. Martin Luther King Day for 2017, they said we've still got a lot of time to deal with that. So there hasn't been anything going on. And then this coming Thursday, we will have an urban renewal meeting, 7 o'clock in the morning. Anybody that wants to get up and show, glad to have you.
Okay, Catherine.
The planning and zoning was taken care of here, and unfortunately I missed that meeting because we had our school open house, but Michael did a fine job of getting us all prepared, which is great. And then I just appreciated the email that came from Mark about the Community Health and Wellness Fair this Thursday. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing many people there.
Very good. Walter.
Thank you, Mayor. On last Wednesday, the 10th, I attended the Farmers Market Commission, and at that, beyond the routine items, they reviewed and approved a vendor packet letter, which will be going out shortly to the vendors that are prepared to going to be in the market this summer. Also, they are working toward a March 23rd extended meeting to look at updating the fee structure of the farmers market, John. That would be for the October 1, 2016 to September 30, 2017 fiscal year. So we will be working on that. On Monday, the 8th, I attended the fire department, volunteer fire department board meeting, and to give Gary a heads up, on Thursday the 4th, I attended the meeting with the Moscow School District, Gary and Bill Belknap, where we discussed moving to a conclusion on the construction items of the ball fields on Joseph. And Gary, who gave a report to the committee, Public Works Committee, last Monday, if you would like to expand on that, Gary, I will let you do so.
How about if we do that when it comes time for your reports? You want to do it at that time? And that way you can have the floor for everything you need to speak about.
That's all I've got.
I got a question for you, Walter. When the fee structure thing at the farmer's market is discussed, will that be post Steve Peterson's study on the economic impact of the market?
No. It's not the same thing.
But his economic impact study would certainly affect setting the fee structure of the market, I would think.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
My belief is that his economic impact would be like the one he did for the airport. He will work for some basic numbers, do some multipliers, and come up with some big number that the market's worth. Not what they're being charged by the city of Moscow to be in the farmers market.
Okay, well, with that, was that the end of your reports?
That's it.
Okay. We had an airport board meeting on the 5th, went through the usual things and the runway realignment, where we were for funds that have came in, and it's very much on track. And we're headed very, very well with that into 2016. And then today, on the 16th, I gave a State of the City address at the Best Western, and for those folks that missed it out there, that will be on our website, all the different materials and things that I covered. And we had a number of things that we discussed that I brought forward, and so it was an exciting day for me today. I've been a busy beaver. With that, Gary, I will turn it over to you. You can answer Walter's question and then
Thank you.
add to what you have.
I appreciate that. Yes, as I reported to the committee last Monday, there was a discussion with the ARC as to the final closeout of the project on the Moscow School District community playfields. One of the first things that was brought up was the date of the grand opening, which, weather permitting, will be set for April 2nd. And there will be a big celebration. We intend on having a party to celebrate the cooperation between the city and the school district on the project. Bill Belknap, who's been acting as the de facto project manager on the job, brought some final issues that needed to be resolved by the ARC so that we could take care of getting the equipment that was necessary to get the ball fields ready for play this spring, while also addressing a couple of other issues that were brought up, the biggest ones being the scoreboards and potential fence. We do have some money left over in the contingency, or the monies that were not weren't spent on the project, which we can use for the project. There is some irrigation issues that we hopefully had resolved. There was a rebate, if you will, or a refund by the designers because the design may not have been as robust as it needed to be to keep up with the needs of the field. So there's about $11,000 coming back from that as well. And then $50,000 has been pledged, as you recall, by the Moscow Baseball Association, which will also go into that project. All things being said, the equipment, the fences necessary, and fences I'm talking about are fences for bullpens and that sort of thing, padding, so on and so forth, can be done for the money that is left in the project. Scoreboards will be added later. No decision was made by the ARC on the scoreboards at this time because of they won't be installed anyway till later on in the summer when the fields firm up. The fence was I think most everyone thought that there should be some sort of fence around the perimeter of the fields in order to not only restrict during tournament play, restricting the gate, if you will, being able to regulate who comes in and out, but also to hopefully encourage people to be a little circumspect about using the fields. They aren't meant for dog runs. They aren't meant to drive on, those sorts of things that might discourage that sort of activity. One thing we wanted to make sure of is that the public's invited to use the fields. When they aren't being used for school activities, they are in fact a public facility that we invite the public to use. So we didn't want to discourage that either. The ARC came to the conclusion that a fence was a good idea. The committee that I reported to last week also thought it was a good idea. It will likely require additional
contribution by both the city and the school district of approximately $20,000 apiece. There is a 6-foot fence, construction fence around the site at this time. It's meant to keep people out. It's meant that nobody should go in because it's under construction. The fence that would replace it would be about a 4-foot tall fence with the pipe across the top, the wires of the fence protected so people wouldn't get injured on them, and it's more of a sturdy type fence than what's out there now. We'd anticipating salvaging that fence, selling it, and using any funds that we get from the fence to help offset the cost of the new fence. So all that's been going on. Right now we're still going through receiving quotes and that sort of thing on the fence, so we have not brought anything back before council on perhaps additional funding. The superintendent of the school district, Greg Bailey, has indicated that he believes that the school board will also participate with whatever the city participates on that particular facility.
Gary, in reference to the fence, will that fence be fenced up that is up there now? Will it stay up there until after the opening, and then the new fence be put in at a later date so that it can be put in where the ground is appropriate and stuff? Because they'll be in cement and different things. How will
I'd defer the taking down of the fence to Bill.
Okay.
But we know the new fence would not be constructed until after the opening.
Probably sometime in the summer months when the weather permitting, Bill, is that kind of what we're looking at for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect the existing temporary construction fence to come down prior to the opening.
Okay.
And then the new fence would be installed over the course of the summer.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Walter?
Thank you. To reiterate what Gary said, and because at least one person misunderstood a comment about the fence that I made at the Public Works Committee meeting that was in the paper, the fence is for control of access, yes, but the only time that it will really be used is to control going through a gate will be when there are tournaments. You still will need to use the gates, but it'll be open to the public. You can go out there and attend baseball games or soccer games or whatever at any time. I had originally thought that we ought to keep a fence up around it. Some other people didn't agree, and now it appears they've come around. Just so that because it's got sidewalks on two sides, it's got a path on the other two sides. People walk their dogs around those all the time, and to preclude them being tempted to turn them loose and run, the fence is probably a good idea, but it's not a lock the thing up fence by any stretch of the imagination, with the exception of tournament time when tickets will be sold and revenue will be generated from the particular tournament that's going on. So don't think of it in terms of a restrictive fence, just a crowd control fence, because so many people are going to be using it.
Thank you. The question I have has to do, you know how normally on fences, on ball fields and stuff, there's always the advertising? Is there what's the plan for that? And
It's interesting you bring that up. That is something that was brought up by the ARC by the school district. The school district, as you know, on the Bear baseball field at this time, has those placards out in the center field. Essentially, the funding that the sponsorships are paid to the Bear boosters, who then funnel that money back into Moscow Bear athletics. The discussion that was had is when we get a proposal from the boosters, it is a school district facility, but it has been funded just over 50% by the city. The city's position on advertising in the past has been on a case-by-case basis, generally being discouraged because we're a public entity. In this situation, it's a little bit different. It's one that is it's to benefit the Bear boosters, and what the idea would be to, if they have a proposal they wish to bring forward, I'll bring that back to council. The idea is for something that's a little more temporary than the ones that hang on the Bear field fence all year. But we'll bring that back and discuss that. And Superintendent Bailey indicated that he didn't want to bring that forward, so we'll do that as soon as we get a chance.
Thank you.
Okay, Gary, did you have other? Oh, you want?
I had a question for Bill on the fence situation. If you take the fence down and it's not, and there's be a couple of months there when there's no fence, it seems like kind of risky from the standpoint of vandalism if somebody drove a vehicle out on the grass at that time? Wouldn't it be better to take the fence down and put the other one up simultaneously?
Well, I think the initial plan of the 4-foot fence did not include the perimeter of the parking lot, which is probably your most likely point of a vehicle gaining access to the field. It really was just around the perimeter of the site. So I don't know that the temporary fence or the proposed permanent fence is really going to be in a location to prevent that kind of activity. It was really just along the western, northern, and eastern boundaries, and then along the sidewalk to the driveway entry points, but not, we weren't planning to fence the entire perimeter of the interior parking lot. So I don't know that there's going to be that much risk for a vehicle driving out on the facility.
It won't be much different than after the other fence is in, so.
No.
Okay.
I mean, the other fence will be in. We've kind of identified 4 different kind of gate locations that can be left open for the public to gain access when it's not being used for tournament play. So I don't think that not having a fence for a month or 2 is going to be a significant issue.
So there'll be nothing to prevent inside the parking lot area? Once you get inside the perimeter fence, someone could drive out on the fields?
If they want to drive over
rocks or something there to keep people from driving?
I mean, there's a curb and a perimeter sidewalk all the way around it. If somebody wanted to drive over that curb and out into the field, I mean, it's like any other park facility. But no, we had not planned any type of barriers around the parking lot.
Okay, Gary, did you have any other reports?
No, sir, I think that's it.
Okay, well, we're at the end of our meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So with that being, we're done. 7:51, folks. Thank you very much.